G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algrid. He's a little bit under the weather, so we're going to bear
It's
with him.
true.
He sounds like
It is
he's...
true.
sounds
My
like...
frog buffer's got a bad sore throat, as the old ad used to say.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're grinding something with this, right? I don't know what it is, but it does not sound pleasant. Eating chalkboards or something. I don't know.
Apparently I'm sounding and looking a lot better than I have been, so...
I don't know about the look better part, but yeah. We'll get there. So, Algrid and I wanted to talk today... Yes, I am very rude, man. Algrid and I wanted to talk today about Squadron 42 specifically, and the things that show that the end of the road is very nigh. So, as in, not that it's probably a bit of a clickbaity title. Like, most people are going to assume that we think it's over and they're not releasing it. But no, this is things that show that it's coming out sooner than we think. And there's a few things that point towards that fact, and we want to go over those today. But before we get started in the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, make sure you got all notifications turned on with that notification bell so you can get all our videos. And we know 50% of you guys that watch our videos are not subscribed. So if you want to help us out, want us to keep making this content, we have to get put forward by YouTube. That's the algorithm game we have to play, unfortunately. It's not in Algrid and I's nature to push for subscribers, but we have to because just views are down. And yeah, that's how it goes.
It is a hard pill to swallow when you've got to promote yourself and
and we're both not good at it.
And, no, I hate doing it, to be honest. But it's the game you got to play on YouTube.
It feels very boastful.
The algorithm
doesn't it? It feels boastful. It's boastful, and I don't think we're boastful by nature, either of us. So yeah. All right, then we'll get on with the episode. So, first thing off the bat, I'll kick us over the browser, Agri, because we've got a couple of show over there. So let's do that first.
Yeah.
And
so the first place to always go to if you're looking for any updates on Squadron 42, the Squadron 42 monthly update.
Oh, I haven't brought up the monthly update. I've actually brought up Sandy's Twitter, Agri.
Yep, but that's okay because that was the first thing.
Yes.
But even before the monthly update, you do occasionally get little snippets. And this was one from Sandy's Twitter feed where in May they had John Rhys Davies in the studio, just touching up lines for the script, and that to me is a real big polishing thing. You don't do that type of thing. You don't get your stars back in to re-record lines until you're in that polishing stage.
Yeah. And I think that'll be a reoccurring theme today is polishing. Everything being polished and upgraded, and you don't really upgrade things or fix things or finalize things, whatever word usage you want to use, until you know you're ready to set them in stone. Much like when you look at all the ships in the game right now, people will go, oh, why doesn't this work? Why isn't this fixed? And it's the same thing. They're all going to be brought up to a standard. Whatever that last ship that comes out will probably be the standard that all of them come up to eventually. And that's just the nature of the beast. You kind of do the best you can at the time with what you've got and then go back and fix it. And this is a sign that they're doing that. And we'll be going through a few of those today. But I don't think this is the last of the voice lines we'll see this year. I think that they'll go through and do a few more as well. So we'll probably see a similar picture for other stars down the line. I don't know.
Well, I did ask Sandy whether John Rhys Davies was the biggest star they'd had in the studio. And I got the impression that the answer was no.
Okay.
So...
All right.
So, yeah.
We'll go on to the next bit we've got here then. So this is the... I'm halfway down the screen though, but this is the... we're having trouble with this month's Squadron 42 report. So I've only got the kind of phone version because every time I click that view and browser button, it doesn't work, and it's also not available on the website at the moment, which is really strange. So we're just dealing with this one that we've got, but there are several things in here. Even if you just search for certain keywords like polish, right? So if I just search for polish, you can see that they've been processing, implementing, and drinking animations with polish, and then they are polishing, posing, and different props and stuff like that. Another really key line I found in here is they're starting to work on rendering stuff as well. So this is all signs that they're, in my book, starting to work on things that are kind of more needed for the final release of Squadron 42. Now, that's not to say, I think that's the other thing we should state here is how far away this is. It could be a year away. It could be, you know, I'm not going to say 2 weeks away, but you know what I mean? Like, we can't tell how
Yeah.
far away the end is, but these are just all very good signs that point to, you know, the rounding and the finishing and the completion of this project. And I think that's a really good sign that we all kind of want to see. We want to, you know, we've been here for so long, a lot of us. Um, Seeing things come to
Mm.
completion is well, I don't know about you, Agrid. For me, it's very satisfying. Like, you know, like, oh, cool, we're finally getting there. We're gonna get to
Yeah.
that thing we've been waiting for ages. So yeah.
Yeah, and my understanding is that type of polishing and stuff is the type of stuff you do when you're going, you know, when you're leaving that that alpha stage and moving toward that
Mm,
that better stage where you got your testers in and
yeah.
they're doing stuff and you're now fixing up the errors and polishing the things and picking up the graphical issues
Mm,
and all those other things that are done probably a little bit earlier than that because they're still doing the wild lines
mm.
and mocap shooting for those extra bits and pieces just to flesh it out.
Makes me
But
wonder too, Algrid, if they're going to come out and tell us that they've finished alpha or they've finished beta for specifically for Squadron 42, or are they going to literally wait right to the end and go, oh, it's gone gold? So I don't know. It'd be interested to see how they keep us updated in that regard.
yeah, and, and for me, it was always this one's a struggle because I know when I was in Lord of the Rings online when that was being tested, and I was one of I think the closed beta or closed beta testers for that, and went through a lot of the gameplay and for Lord of the Rings, and yet um, when the game came out, I still enjoyed it. But those first few levels were I've done that a dozen times. Um, and while I'd like to do the same thing with Squadron, and yet I also don't want to do it with Squadron, and
Mm.
so that catch 22. I want to be there and help make sure it's polished and all the rest of it, and yet I also don't want to
Yeah, it's an
sell
interesting
myself
one.
short.
I don't know. I don't know
Uh,
how I feel about letting people test it beforehand and stuff like that. But that could be a part of it as well. Maybe they, you know, there was talk way back in the day of like
mm,
a vertical slice. Maybe they release a vertical slice for us all to play, like the first part of it or the first level or something like that, and then, you know, we get that like 12 months ahead of the full game. I don't know. You know,
yep.
I'll talk
Well,
about that. But this kind of leads into one of the other points I was going to have, so we can probably talk about both at the same time. Is there has been talk this year of something big at CitizenCon this year, quite a few
mm,
times you know, in several of the community managers' messages and other things like that. So I think that, like something like what you're talking about, there could be that outgrid or the, you know, the announcement of a release date or something to that
mm,
effect, or a vertical slice. Don't know what it is, obviously, because they haven't told us. But you know, you and I have been talking about this for months. That there's a lot of signs pointing to something at this year's CitizenCon, but the release being next year.
yeah. Well, I've got whenever I've read the Squadron 42 monthly reports for the last couple of times, I've said to you, it feels like they're talking polishing. It feels like they're in that end
Mm,
stage, and uh, that stuff that you don't get that
mm,
kind of discussion until you're near the end of the road. With the playtesties type stuff, that's a hard one because like when we were doing Lotro, we were
mm.
doing the play test and doing the quests and everything else because we were actually testing to see whether they were working, and so there was a method to doing it. But the downside was you did them so many times when you actually got to play the game, that was like,
Well,
you
like
know,
there
those
are other
lines.
testing they could do with us too,
Yeah,
like, and using Squadron 42 as the test bed, you know, they could have a single player jerry rigged level, as in like it's like a almost like a gray box just to test AI and stuff. And they go, here, do you want to try the here's one of the guns in the game. Go through, finish this level, and they take, you know, make a little time arena commander level that's like a time trial or something, you know, and it tests the AI, allows them to test the
yeah,
weapons or anything like that that they want to test on mass. So that could be things that they bring us in for as well. Not saying they're going to do that, just saying
yeah.
that there's a possibility of things like that as well. But I don't know.
I,
It's up to them
I
how
was
far they want to go with it.
I was literally going to say that Arena Commander gives them that great opportunity for testing because they can actually, like the gun one they were talking about in the last episode, where they can where gun rush, so they can actually just put, okay, it's only pistols. We're only using this gun. Everyone's got this gun. All right, everyone's got this weapon, and so you can actually really focus on a particular weapon or a particular thing.
Great for weapon balancing and knowing kind of where a certain particular weapon sits in an area. Very condensed thing. So yeah, that could be, and we don't even know we're helping. So yeah. Couple other things. Removal of Squadron 42 from sale. You can no longer. I wonder if I can actually go on the website and pull this up while we're talking. Hang on the fly here. Have not done prepared as usual. This one. So you go into the pledge store. This would be really good if it makes a liar out of me. But I believe the all the ones that you could buy are gone. So there is no longer any combo packages. They're all gone. And I believe if you actually search Squadron, or if I could spell Squadron, that would help. Yeah. So there's absolutely nothing there now to add.
And if my memory serves me correctly, and I'm in a befuddled state at the moment, so I could be wrong. But I thought that in Spectrum, Tyler also talked about Squadron being removed for the time being.
You have to excuse Agrid, he's got a really bad cough.
And I got the impression that the idea was that being removed temporarily was going to get a price increase. And the only reason I can think of a price increase coming for Squadron is because
nearing release.
They're nearing release.
Yep. And you like it right now, it's $50. Like, what are you expecting? $60, $70 for US dollars for a full price game? I know a lot of the PlayStation games are now 70. But you know, $60 is still kind of the standard for PC. But like, I think it's been at that $50 price point for ages. Like since they went out of the Legacy Alpha, if you remember that. That's where it's been at that $50 price point. So this is the first increase we've seen on it, and I'd say it's, I don't know, if they go to 60, I could see them going to 70 down the road. But to me, having never had one before, excuse me, it's a really strong sign for release.
Again, like you said, it doesn't mean they're going to do it within the next 6 months, 12 months. But what it's saying is it is a lot closer than what it's saying. That they are in those polishing stages.
Yeah.
Now, I know people say, yeah, but the game's been in development for so long. And this is where I think we've really got that problem where we've been watching the game be developed from day one. Where normally we don't know. When Lord of the Rings came out, we knew it was coming out. But it was only in the last year or so that you knew it was coming out. It had been in development a lot longer. Same with Grand Theft Auto or some of the other games. I think Red was an example, and they had the previous stuff they were working on. But we don't tend to see the production stuff until it's almost ready.
Yep.
And so I get the impression we're at that point where this is the stage where we'll be starting to see information on the game. If it was under a normal studio, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
And I think another real big one was kind of the end of last year on the roadmap. And I don't know if I can actually show this. I could probably do this live. Man, I really didn't prepare. Was on the roadmap. A lot of all the levels actually, all the chapters for Squadron 42 were complete, so to speak. As in, you know, they'd worked out the shape of them, at least grey box at the very least, which I found very interesting. So yeah, I don't know about you, Algar, but that's a site you don't. Again, it's a part of that polishing thing. You don't do that unless you're getting towards the end of things. I just can't remember which one it's on. There you go. Yeah. So they've already all passed. Just don't know how to bring up all of them at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I did look at this previously, and they were all complete. If I change that to 02. Nope. Some of them being removed. Anyway, I think that kind of shows you what I was trying to show you anyway. Like that they've gone past the roadmap now, so they're all finished, which is kind of interesting to me. I don't know if that's interesting to you, Agrid, but it kind of does. If they're all kind of more feature complete, again, it's a point to signs of starting to polish. And when we see things like props being polished and animations being polished and stuff like that, and everything's starting to be brought the level brought up, it
Yeah.
is definitely a movement for me towards the
Yeah.
release of
Well,
the single player campaign.
when you look at the monthly report, the narration team wasn't working on story anymore. They were working
Yep.
on chucking wild lines.
Yep.
And
And
all those.
and the tutorials and stuff like that. So even they're kind of moving on from things, and it's a similar things when it comes to designers. They're all starting to move on from things into other areas. So yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's pretty much all we've got on why the end is nigh, and why the end of a road, the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel can be seen, and things looking good, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. I think we'll see more as time goes by too. I think also as we come up to CitizenCon, I don't know about you. We've been saying this for, oh man, I think we've been saying it since like September last year. I'm almost expecting it this year's CitizenCon. And we've said it a few times, and I've started to see a few other content creators now start the same things, and that's kind of what's brought this episode on. A few other content creators have been echoing what we've been saying from months ago now, that it looks like this year's CitizenCon is going to be something like an announcement of a release date for the following year. And I'd expect something like a trailer to go with that, so that they're going to show off and start the hype train for the release of Squadron 42 and get us all really excited. Announce that new price that kind of to go in line with that, and basically start to get us to help pull people in to purchase the game ready for it to go the following year. Well, that's what I'm expecting. I don't know. Are you on the same page as that, Agrid?
Yeah, I may not have thought in detail of that process, but yeah, I'm expecting a very similar timeline.
Yep. All right, then. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on that, and if you've got any more evidence that you think points towards it, because I think the more evidence that we all pull in, the more likely the brand's correct. Are we from Crazy Town? I think that's the other thing I'd ask as well. But I know we're not from Crazy Town, because there are now other content creators that I've been seeing, and even other people I've been talking to that have been echoing the same thoughts. So yeah, I think the last thing I'll add here, besides that, Algrid, is I also think that one of the things Paul talks about quite a lot is he thinks that Theatres of War will come this year. I'm still of mind that I think Theatres of War will come this year as a multiplayer component, or if it doesn't come this year, sorry, it'll come with Squadron 42 as a multiplayer component to kind of draw people in. And I even think it might be free to play as well. I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but do you still think that's the case, that it'll probably pair nicely with Squadron 42?
I think it could. One thing I thought was interesting in the Arena Commander Reborn or Rejig or whatever the episode was called, when they were looking at the FPS combat, they talked about the Good Doctor being one of the scenarios that were going to be in Arena Commander. That
Lost him for a sec. Give it a minute, and he'll come back in a flurry. Happens every time. Or not. Oh, there he is. He's back. All right. You were saying, Agrid? Good Doctor was the last thing. Good Doctor was the last thing we heard.
So in Arena Commander, they talked about the Good Doctor scenario being in Arena Commander, that map. Now, that was a map for Theatres of War, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
So if you've got that map in Arena Commander, I think what it's hinting at is that arena commander will be the bed or the home of theatres of war element.
I think a bigger one towards the theatres of war and arena commander was the talking about like the big multi-ship combat, that being able to take in, like having multiple people in the same ship. So now you can get a hurricane and have someone in the turret and someone in the thing. So the next step on that is like a hammerhead or a constellation or something like that, and having a multi-crew ship, so you can pre-set up these multi-crew battles, and that is going to be really interesting, because you don't have to go into the universe and get all to physically together. You can just go straight there and go, right, we've got 4 people on this side, 4 people on that side, bang, let's go. So it's going to set it up really quickly.
And the one that I really got tickled at is which is mainly just because we literally talked about the engineering gameplay down the track, and he said, and he was looking forward to the engineering stuff down the track as well, which that really does bode well for that whole intership.
Well, it's almost like he's saying, oh, we're going to bring that into Arena Commander.
And that makes sense, because you want to train. You want to be able to train your crew on how to run the ship and do the ship.
It's almost a bit of a hallmark back to the... You don't see it too much anymore in games. Well, I guess some of them do, but like for me, Battlefield's lost it a bit, just to be an example. But I remember there used to be a big thing about being the repair guy on the tanks, right? And you don't see that too much on it anymore. It's more of a, like, you just press a button and it repairs itself. Like they've just trimmed it down and watered it down, and it's just not to the same level it used to be. And I want it to go back to where it was, where you had a dedicated, it forced you to work together. It forced that co-op experience where the best well-oiled machines work together, and that's what I'm looking for again. And I think with what Chris Roberts is doing in what he's talking about in the actual PU, if that translates across exactly the same, which you have to assume it would, we're going to be going back to a hallmark of those games that push you to work together. You can go into certain games these days, and just 2 people working together can dominate entire servers because randoms just refuse to work together. I just find that mind-blowing. That it's just got dumber and dumber.
It's sad but true.
But
on that note,
all right. With that,
I
then
think we're done.
Yep, that's cool. All right. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you make sure you get all our videos. Again, only about 50% of you guys are subscribed, so we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And something that really does help us out is like the video, if you like the video. And if even disliking helps us, believe it or not. So if you don't like the video, dislike it, and if you like it, because anything that feeds that algorithm really helps us out, because we are down the numbers a little bit this week, so we're trying to get them up. And yeah, me and Agra don't like promotion. We usually don't talk about it much, but we're just trying to get them back up to where they were, because for some reason they've dropped off. So yeah. All right. With that, Agra, is there anything you want to hear in the comments below, real quick? No.
I think my idle brain is not keeping on.
I think I've
cylinders.
Yeah, just as if you agree with us, and if you've got any more evidence that points to the potential release. Even if you've got evidence that you think that doesn't point to it, point that out as well, please, because it's all things that we can just add to the pot to see where it's going. All right, with that then, he's been Agrid.
He's been Execute.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Take care.